to you and welcome to Primetime Advocacy. Here we provide relevant information on issues that affect the people at all scales and have professionals and relevant stakeholders to advocate on these issues. My name is Vivian Douglas. Tonight, we'll be having a conversation on two different segments. The first lineup for tonight is Women in Politics. Now, stakeholder call for greater women participation in politics. And of course, we'll also be looking at child abuse. Health workers decry increase in child abuse cases. Now, let's quickly go to women in politics and what's the story. Stakeholders call for greater women participation in politics. Now, remember that in 2014, during the time of President Goodluck Jonathan, when he convened the national conference, the issue of 35% affirmation was a major part of that conversation. Now, it's still evident today that women still suffer a lot of discrimination, especially in their participation in politics. Sadly, political parties are more comfortable with having women leaders, etc., and not the rightful position. The question here then is, when will Nigerian women truly step out to stand out and take rightful politically elected positions? Will this time ever be a reality? Now, we'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll go straight into this conversation. But before you go, just to let you know, I have Esther Achoko-Renta, who is a legal rep for FIDA, right here in the studio to talk to us on what needs to be done and what we should be doing as a matter of fact. Stay with us, we'll be right back. It's still Primetime Advocacy, and our first lineup tonight looks at the need for women to participate in politics as much as possible. Now, Afe Babalola, who is a senior advocate of Nigeria and of course the founder of Afe Babalola University, did a piece in Vanguard where he raised the awareness for women participation in politics. Now, he went on to say that in the colonial politics, or in the pre-colonial and colonial post-colonial era, Nigerian women were highly integrated into the political setup of their communities. Now, for instance, in pre-colonial Borno, women actively participated in the administration of the state, complementing the roles played by male counterparts in the political history of ancient Zaria. Women also played a very significant role. In fact, the modern city of Zaria was founded in the first half of the 16th century by a woman called Queen Bakwa Turuko. She had a daughter called Amina, who later succeeded her as queen. Queen Amina was a great and powerful warrior who built a high wall around Zaria in order to protect the city from invasion, and extended the boundaries of her territory beyond Bauchi and made Zaria a prominent commercial center. Now, he went on to say that if you look at the issue, the issue Yakubu in the ancient Yoruba, if you look at the ancient Yoruba land, for instance, that the Oba ruled with a number of women whom he referred to as female traditional chiefs, and then these women were they consisted of 8 titled ladies of the highest rank, and then other prominent women included Moremi of Ife, Emotan of Benin, and Omu of Okwe of Osamari, whose impact and of course contribution to their communities are forever etched in the Nigerian historical books. Now, Moremi and Emotan were great Amazons who displayed wonderful bravery and strength in the politics of Ife and Benin respectively, while Omu Okwe dominated the commercial scene of Osamari in present-day Delta State. Now, he went on to say that the advent of colonialism saw steady decline in the participation of women in politics, and more particularly their disenfranchisement. It was only recently and in the 1950s that 3 women were appointed into the House of Chiefs. That is Chief Mrs. Olufumilayo Ransom Kuti, who was appointed into the Western Nigeria House of Chiefs. Now, Chief Margaret Ekpo and Janet Mokelu, who were both appointed into the Eastern Nigerian House of Chiefs. Conversely, women undertook greater participation in the post-colonial era. In the Second Republic, few women were elected into the House of Representatives and the Houses of Assembly. In addition, 2 women were appointed as federal ministers. They were Chief Mrs. Janet Akinrinade, Minister for Internal Affairs, and Mrs. Adenike Ebun Oyoba. Now, he went on to that the Buhari-led, that was during Buhari-led military rule. Under this system, at least 1 female was appointed as a member of the Executive Council in every state. The return of democracy in 1999 came with the prospect of ensuring the greater participation of women in politics. However, Nigeria is yet to implement the declaration made at the 4th World Conference on Women in Beijing, which advocated 30% affirmative action, or the recommendation of the National Gender Policy NGP for 35% affirmative action in both elective, political and appointive public services position. Now, in conclusion, he said that the statistics of women participation in Nigerian politics is rather minimal. A lot still needs to be done to give women more room for participation in politics. He said it does appear that the huge and overwhelming representation of women at most political rallies has not transformed to increase opportunities for women to contest elections. One of the identified challenges facing a greater involvement of women in politics is the patriarchal system being operated in Nigeria. Now, other factors include a low level of education, political violence, religious, and all what have you. He now went on to say, among other, there must be an enabling environment for Nigerian women to participate effectively in shaping the political landscape of the country. This could be actualized by the introduction of the quota system in our laws for the participation of women at all levels. Now, because of our time, let me quickly come back to our guest in the studio. We can go on and talk about what the senior advocate had to say. I mean, at least someone in his position is speaking up for women. I think that is something commendable. So, Esther, I'm coming back to you now. When we look at the issue of women in politics, while I was reading this piece, one of the questions, I said, this is a man. When are we going to see women standing up and like taking bold steps, not just when there are protests, not just when there are rallies and all that? How can we begin to look at women involvement in politics? You have been a grassroots person and you've gotten to where you are today. What are some of those factors you think that women should begin to do to ensure that they are seen and they are heard, they are seen and not just heard?
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I think we should start by creating more awareness, because some women are not aware of this 35% affirmative. So we should create more awareness to the women and also try to disabuse their mind. Some women have the mindset that it's only for men, politics is just for men. So we should try to disabuse their mindset that politics is both for men and for women, not just for men alone. That we also have rights to vote and be voted for. Yeah, I think that's what we should be doing.
Thank you. I mean, that's exactly why we're having this conversation right now. One of the things he also mentioned that has impinged on the right of women to actually hold proper political position is the issue of patriarchy. And now before you go into talking about patriarchy and how it's impacting the views and the perception of how a woman is seen in today's society, there are 2 key issues I want to quickly point out. One was in the, was it 2011 or so, one of the primary elections held by Goodluck Jonathan for his presidential election. There was one Sarah Jibri. She was like the only woman who was contesting for presidency in the PDP at the point, and he practically was the only one who voted for himself, for herself.
Sorry.
I've always wondered, like, are you saying that none of these people bothered to even give her another vote? How much of this makes a lot of sense looking at where we are today? You see a lot of men coming out to say they want to contest for presidency. Last time Obi Ezekwesili was able to take a bold step. We have a young woman today who is doing that. But you see, it's like women choose to leave politics for men. One of the issues he raises is that there is no, because of the economic factor and all that, is this enough? Or could it be that people usually see the woman as someone who, or if she's in politics now, she becomes unruly, no man can control her, and then based on that, it's as if, oh, let's her not go into politics. What are some of these factors that patriarchy is using to hold down the women, and how can we begin to do something about this?
Okay, like I said before, creating awareness and sensitizing the women more, because this issue of discrimination is so much on women in all spheres of life. Discrimination is so much on women, and we women, we just decide to take in everything they put to us, and instead of coming out to fight for our right, to get what is actually our rights. So I think we should do more by sensitizing the people, have more of programs that has to do with women, to erase the issue of discrimination, on women. And it's time we start building our self-esteem. You know that sometimes women, they come out for these things, they want to take positions, but at the later end, you see them, they just renege. They don't want to come out again because probably somebody somewhere has called out to say, it's your position is in the kitchen or in the other room. You don't have to come out. Any woman that is not out, or you're out, you don't have regard, respect, or because of the names they call them. You see, sometimes a woman goes out for political meetings. By the time she gets back, the husband start beating to say, where did you go to? And you have gone to meet a man and all that. But a man will go out and come back even won by midnight, and there's no such thing. So I think it's time we start building ourselves, women. We should tell ourselves the truth. This position, we have position here, we have to go for it. We have to start working towards it, and we have to make up our minds to not just coming out and at the end of the day we just drop positions that were not coming as. Just example, what happened with Obi Executive. I think also she dropped at a point. So it shouldn't be like that. It's not encouraging.
Okay, now speaking of women helping themselves, it's also very important to note that one of the issues that we talk about, the issue of patriarchy, for instance, it has to do primarily with how a woman perceives herself, which is basically what the society have been able to tell her, that you're a woman, you belong to the kitchen or the other room, like we joke around in today's Nigeria.
Yes.
After President Muhammad Buhari's statement, I think that was in Germany, to an international journalist, and that has become a form of trade. And across the sector, whether from the family to education sector to offices, we still have men who feel that because you're a woman, you belong to, you're a secondary citizen. How can we begin to, because if you look at it critically, these men were brought up by women, trained by women.
Yes.
How much of the parental training or guidance should play critical role in how a child grows up, how a man grows up, and how a woman grows up to see themselves? Esther?
That's a very good point there, You see, parents as parents, we have given our children, especially the female children, that mindset that the man is superior. It is not supposed to be so. You go to some houses, you see they assign courses to study for the female because the child is a female child. It's not supposed to be so. Allow your female children to explore. Allow them to decide, make decisions for themselves. We as parents should not, I still maintain the word, should not tell the children courses to study. You should not bring down demoralizing the female children. Give the male children that room, and you limit the female children. It should not be so. The children should be given equal opportunities. It starts from the home. By the time the woman starts seeing herself as less of a human, it kills the morale of the woman. Growing up as a child, I remember I wanted to study law, and somebody came and said, you're a woman. Why would you want to study law? Why not go and marry? After all, another man will take you. So, but being the kind of woman, the kind of girl I was, who has that determination, I said, no, this is my passion. This is what I want to be. I had the passion, and I said, I want to study. And thank God for my father, who was encouraging. He said, you want to study law, you'll be a lawyer. So women, parents should please help to encourage their children. And female especially. Female, be determined, and whenever we want to participate in anything politically, socially, we should be determined. Determination is the key, because if we are not determined, anybody can come and talk down on us, and we'll just renege. So we have to at all time, be determined and be ready. It's very important.
Before we quickly wrap up on this segment, you are here representing the feeder. Now, FIDA is one of those organizations that the average female feels, okay, I can run to when I have some of these issues.
Yes.
Now, how can FIDA and maybe other organizations begin to look, and you spoke on the issue of awareness, creating more awareness. Now, 2023 is coming. There are people who should be at communities and at different places to ensure that the awareness is created at all costs, especially when it comes to women participation in politics. What are some of the ways that we can look at FIDA or other organizations to begin to participate in creating more awareness for the girl child, for the females to be given the power to go into politics, as this has become very paramount today?
Okay. As FIDA, we've done a lot of sensitizations and we've created a lot of awareness. We have tried to curb some of these barbaric practices. At least we are doing more, and we are ready to do more. FIDA on our side, we go to communities, we sensitize them, and part of what we teach them is equality, gender equality, allowing your female children and your male children to have their stake in their life and in the society too. So we'll still do more. Election is coming, and we are still doing more. We are going to communities, we go for sensitization on different types of laws. We also talk to them about demanding for their rights, which politics is part of their rights. They have the right to vote and right to be voted for. So they still go out there. We are still going out there. We will still do more. Right now, we are still calling out for other things. We call people, we call the general public, and people come to us. When they come to us, we don't just talk to them, we also counsel them. We also counsel them that they are not less of human. They are also human. We should stand up and fight and demand for our rights in the society.
All right, thank you very much, Esther. We will come back to you when we get into the second segment of the conversation. Like I said a few days ago here, if you are wondering how can you speak up for yourself, ask yourself, how did the daughters of Zelophehad in Numbers chapter 27, thousands of years ago, how were they able to stand up for themselves? Step into the temple where they ought not to be. Stop the meeting that was going on between Moses and the elders. Stood their ground and said that you must give us our father's rights. And for the sake of these women, they didn't have television. They didn't have cell phone. They didn't have Google to do research. They didn't have any of these search engines or the internet like we have today, or vehicles or cars. This was an ancient time when women were not supposed to speak up. They found the way, they spoke up. What exactly is your excuse today? 2023 is coming and you think you want to participate in election. What is your excuse? You are a student and you feel, okay, you can do better as a student union governor in the school. Why are you stopping yourself from doing something about that? You are a woman and there are certain things you know that can be done better in the community or in the family, but you're scared. What will happen if you speak up? Or they will say, you are beginning to look like you want to become a man in the house. Well, God gave you a brain for something, and God made you a human in this generation. If you want to think back, there are the Dora Queenies. There are the Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. Of course, Ezonu too.
Yeah.
Of course, there is the Obi Ezekwesili.
Yes.
There are so many of these women that are making impact in today's world. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala is a married woman, by the way, with children who are also doing pretty well.
Yes.
And she is the director of World Trade Fair Center. What exactly is your excuse today? Of course, Kamala Harris, of the Vice President of the United States right now. There's so many women. Go to take a history back to the United Kingdom. We have the Theresa May, we have the Margaret Thatcher. So what exactly is going to be your excuse not to step up if you desire to be in politics? 2023 is beckoning, and we cannot wait to have women participate fully in politics. It is your right. Go for it. Stay with us to take a short break, and we'll come back to the conversation on Prime Time Advocacy today. We're going to be looking at the issue of child abuse. What exactly do you know about child abuse? But this time, medical practitioners are crying out. Let's get to find out what they think about this. We'll be right back. Stay with us. still on Primetime Advocacy tonight, and our second segment of the show looking at child abuse. Health workers decry increase in child abuse cases. Now, this was a statement made during a meeting in New York recently. The Nigerian doctors, under the aegis of Pediatrics Association of Nigeria, raises alarm over the increasing cases of child abuse in Nigeria. Now, Dr. Edward Aliko, who is the president of the association, estimates that 6 out of 10 children across the country have suffered one form of abuse or the other. While speaking in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State, to mark the association's 52nd and 53rd annual general meeting and scientific conference, PanConf, from January 18 to 22nd, on the theme child abuse and escalating menace in Nigeria. He said it is unfortunate that as large as we are, about 11 out of 36 states of the country have not domesticated the law. I am not even talking about seeing that it is properly executed. Now, Aluko appealed to the media to assist the association in sensitization of the public on the issue, especially on the need for all the states to domesticate the rights law and also ensure it is properly executed. He said the association on its part uses different methodologies such as training of healthcare workers, awareness of the public to achieve its fundamental objective of advocating for children in the country, and of course adding that they also use PAN Journal to educate themselves and have discussions and disseminate scientific information for Nigerian doctors and all that. So the question is, I'm coming back to you now. Dr. Aluko is the president of the Association of Pediatric Doctors in Nigeria, Association of Nigeria. Let's come back to the issue of child abuse. To the average mind, they are not even aware that raising your voice at a child constitutes child abuse.
Yes.
They are not even aware because they grew up with people shouting on them, so they are not even aware that that has an impact in the mental development of a child. So to the average mind, they're not even aware that lying in front of a child is abuse of that child, because you're presenting something wrong to that child. It becomes a part of their subconscious mind, and they grow up to become that person, and so many and so forth. But you are the professional here, so let me bring you in, Esther. What exactly constitutes child abuse in Nigeria today?
Okay, child abuse, simply put, can be said to mean any form of maltreatment, on a child or children. It can be physical, it can be verbal, it can be psychological or emotional. So any form of abuse, any form of physical, emotional, or verbal on a child, it's called child abuse. Child abuse can be domestic. We have domestic violence on children, like you've explained here, and you've given us a scene where you see parents fighting together before a child. You have so many bullies today. They learned it from the house. That's child abuse. So even if you want to beat or quarrel yourself as adults, not before the children. Yes.
That's very interesting. I like that personally. But again, how many parents, how many mothers and fathers are aware that you're not supposed to be fighting in front of your child? That's when you do that, you're abusing the child. How many parents are aware of that? Some time ago, I was talking to someone and I said, I actually, looking at the rate of child abuse in today's world, in Nigeria particularly, I was suggesting to a pastor that maybe they should begin to consider training people on how to bring up a child, just like the counsel for marriage. They should also be training people on how to bring up a child, because several people get into marriage. Young girls get pregnant out of wedlock, and now they are still children themselves, and they are forced to become parents for no reason. Probably because they didn't know, they made a mistake, and they're forced to become parents. They're married off and all that. So how can a child bring up a child? How can someone who is an adult today, who was abused, how can they bring up a child? So when we look at these issues, coming back to you again as a professional, what are some of the things we need to look out for when it comes to child abuse, whether within our home or outside of our home?
Okay, we have different forms of child abuse, and it's so vast. We may not discuss all today. Okay. We have different. I've told you about physical beating of the child. Physical beating a child is child abuse. Okay. It's not that you should not correct a child, but if you do it excessively, it's child abuse. And we have the sexual abuse, which is also on a child. So, and sexual abuse, different forms of sexual abuse, defilement and rape of children, we have them on increase now. So we also need to know that talking to children rudely or trying to demean the children bringing the children down, which has to do with emotional abuse, is also an abuse. And also we need to know that child abuse basically is an offense and a crime. It's an offense and a crime in Nigeria, in accordance with Child Rights Law and Child Rights Act. So in Child Rights Law, Section 21, if you abuse a child physically, emotionally, or psychologically, even if there is an assault on the child, which can be seen, is 5 years imprisonment and 500,000 as a fine. But however, you will not see anybody giving a fine of 500 for the punishment. So we are saying that any form of abuse on a child, whether physical, psychological, emotional, is 5 years imprisonment.
All right, thank you very much. Speaking of increase in child abuse, now these are medical doctors.
Yes.
One major aspect of child abuse that families cover up, that we really want to talk about, is sexual abuse in the home. And of course, even if sexual abuse by a neighbor or a teacher, a lot of times you see parents saying, don't talk about it. You don't want people to know. Or if they hear that you were raped, you're going to be defamed. You don't want people to know about it. What is the best way to approach the issue of child sexual abuse, whether in the home or in the child, I mean, whether in the home or in the school or in anywhere at all?
Okay, like what you just said, that parents are virtually covering that worst case of child abuse, which is defilement. Parents are covering it, even guardians, especially guardians who are not the parents. They will say, you want to bring out the name of my family out. It's wrong. You see that there is rates, that the increase of reporting is high. That's because of the rate of awareness and sensitization we have done. We are telling people that cases of this nature, we should not close it. The culture of silence has been broken. So you should not close it because you're not involved. We've had teachers come to us to report cases of sexual assault on children. We've had teachers come to report to us physical assault on children. So everybody should be involved in it. As I was saying, everybody should be involved in it. First, if a child is abused, sexually abused, what you do is you take the child to the nearest police station. At the police station, they are going to refer you to the doctor, to the government hospital, where they are going to run some tests on the child. Then you come to FIDA. FIDA will always be there. And we are also pursuing this case. When a child is defied or abused, please, we need evidence, such as the panties of the child, the clothes of the child, and witnesses are very, very important. So when a child is abused, please, some parents, what we do is we also join to abuse the child or to abuse the children. Instead of counseling them or consoling them, we join to abuse them. How this yeye pikin, what did they do? What were you doing? How did you go there? It is not the child's fault. It is not the child's fault. So we should at least know that that child needs counseling at that stage.
All right, speaking of what to do when a child is sexually abused,
Yes.
I mean, this also goes for adults. I was in a seminar some time ago, and then the doctor who came said, when you notice that your child has been raped, for instance,
Yes.
or a child abuser, a certain form of a sexual abuse has taken place, you mentioned one, do not wash the panties.
Yes.
Take it to the, but what some people do is that they quickly go to the bathroom, they wash off.
the child.
And then the doctor was saying that when you do that, you have washed off part of the evidence.
Yes.
So there is no way to, it becomes difficult to trace. And that's why
Yes.
some of these cases, when they get to the police or come to the
They say
court,
there's no
through that,
evidence.
and then they say there is no evidence, that the person ends up emotionally hurt and then lives with that. What are the best steps to take if your child is sexually abused or you were sexually abused and you find, I know we're talking about children though.
Yes. Okay, like you just said now, when a child is abused, even if the pant was washed off ignorantly, it is not enough. It is not within your power to determine whether there is a case. So you should take the child to the police. Like I said, first and foremost, you have to calm the child down, bring the child, calm the child down. It is not, some parents will just at that point start beating the child. Yes, it is you. I sent you a message on an errand. Instead of going there, you just went to his house. No, you don't need that. Don't create that fear in the child. You have to comfort and console the child at that moment. Then check the child. If you have a contact, you can call us immediately. Then we can also tell you what to do. tell the person what to do, not just for child, even for adults. We've had adults who are raped. We have cases of gang rapes. We have even cases of incest. Even if it happens in the home, please tell your teacher in the school. If your teacher will not hear you, please tell anybody you see along the road. We've gone to schools where we will do sensitization and we give them our numbers. During question and answers, you hear these children ask series of questions, surprising questions. You know that these children have been abused one way or the other. Sometimes they are relaxed with it. They don't even know that those things are sexual abuse. So it's time we have to do more awareness, because some persons don't know. Yes.
All right. Speaking of not knowing, and of course what to do when a child is raped and the steps you take. Thank you so much for that, because it's a very critical part of that. And the point where you said, even if you're a child and you were raped, you're in your house by your dad or your brother or your uncle, go look for somebody on the road and tell the person. They know exactly what to do, and then they will quickly do that to protect you and to save you. Yes. Now let's come to something, another part of this conversation, which is still on sexual abuse. You know, when we talk about sexual abuse, I'm going to give you a very story that is I know personally. A girl of about 6-7 years was growing up, and then there's a family member who comes around in the name of weekends and holidays, female to female this time. And then whenever she comes around, that issue of lesbianism, because this is one aspect that a lot of times we pretend like it doesn't exist, but it's a major aspect of sexual abuse, because this young girl was literally abused by an older adult. There was nobody to know what was going on. And of course, you say, don't tell anybody, I will buy you something. Then when you see someone who grows up tomorrow and the person begins to admire same-sex person, nobody knows the history of that. How much of this issue of same-sex relationships should parents begin to look out for, even in the home? Because we also have some of these cases with brother to brothers and of course sister to sisters. Yeah. How much of this what are the signs that parents should also begin to look
out for? Yeah. Okay, what you just talked about, it majorly deals on incest. Yes, because incest, you see a child, whenever an uncle is around, you see a child retrieving, instead of going to meet the uncle, the child is running away from the uncle. As a parent, you should be suspicious. Then it's high time parents, you know, we play major role in these things. Parents, we are so relaxed that we don't even have time for our children. Most times we are out there doing business and we leave the children. We have to monitor our children. What do they watch when you're not there? Who do they associate with? We don't have time. You should look at the children, your children, who they associate with. Look at their attitude towards a particular person. Sometimes you want to drop a child somewhere and the child is saying, no, I don't want to stay with Uncle Ray. I don't want to stay with Uncle Ray. And you're forcing them, come on, go and sit down, go and stay with Uncle Ray. Something is really happening. You don't have time to question the child. Why don't you want to go to Uncle Ray? And incest is really happening in the house. You see, father, okay, we have a case where a woman had an issue with her husband and she left, leaving 4 girls and a boy to the man. And the man turned around, started sleeping with all the children. And by the time she came back...
What, you mean all the children, including the boy?
No, he didn't sleep. He slept with the girls. The boy he has been seeing much of this, and at a point he couldn't hold it anymore. He ran to his mother. He went to locate his mother and say, Mommy, come back. Come and carry my sisters. Daddy is doing something with them. So that was when something in her woke up. By the time she went and she even caught the man in the act. So you see, these things are there. We should be, even if you want to take decision, you want to run away, you're having issue, consider the children you have. Please don't leave them open. Don't go and give them to an uncle. Say, please monitor these children for me. Don't allow them sit on the lap of anybody or anybody call them my husband, my wife. No. Teach your children that their body parts, they should know their body parts that are for them.
That's the second part where I was coming, because we cannot readily talk about this without looking at the issue of sex education here.
What is
because
it?
Sex education is what a lot of parents shy away from. And I don't understand why parents shy away from sex education. Now we have these are sex organs. It's called a penis, it's called a vagina.
Call them directly.
It's called breasts.
Call them their names.
What exactly is it that makes a parent, you're the one that gave birth to that child. You wash them up, you watch them grow up. Yeah, you're using names, so when people begin to abuse them, they are not even able to know that this is my body part and this is what I need to do. What do you think we can begin to do when it comes to sex education, starting from home, church, and of course schools, as the case may be?
Yes, that's what I just said. Like parents, you need to be frank with your children. Tell them these are your body parts and this is your breast. Point it, let them know. Even if there is nothing in the chest, say this here. is your nipple and is your breast, is for you. Nobody has right to touch it. Tell them this is your vagina. Let them know their vagina. And this is your penis. Mention the names to them. Nobody has right to touch your vagina. These are your private parts. Give them sex education. And also let them know that at this point, nobody has the right to touch them anywhere that has to do with their private parts. Not just that, their mouth is their private part. Because we know that some of these useless men, they go as far as putting their penis in the mouth of the children. So we should also tell them that your mouth is your private part. So you should not put your mouth in anybody. Even if an uncle say, please come and suck breast, come and suck baby, they can change it. So by the time they know that this is penis, they will know that, you want me, it's private part, I can't do that. You know, so the children cannot go as far as doing it. And we should also teach them sex education, very, very important. Dangers of having sex, especially for the teens, which can result to early pregnancy. It can result to damaging of their tubes and all that. We should also teach them about codes. Let us also tell them about codes to use. Because these abusers can come as relatives, they can come as people that want to come and take them out, people that want to come and carry them from schools. We have cases of that nature. So they should not have a code for their children. Except somebody comes with this code, please don't open, don't follow anybody. So they should give them all these flashlights, something that will put them in harm's way. So they are supposed, children should know, even from when we go to schools, we try to separate them. We know the children. Some of them don't know. When we teach them, like the small one, show me your bum bum, they will start laughing. Bum bum. They should know. Start early. And tell them at what stage they should start washing themselves up.
Exactly. I don't think these things are supposed to be rocket science. I see a lot of shying away from these things, and I wonder, you leave your children as a mother, as a father, you're the first role model in your child's life, and then you shy away from these things. So you're leaving your primary responsibility to a stranger. And the child I told you of, that was how this child ended up, you know, in lesbianism. And before you know it, she grew up to realize that that wasn't actually what she wanted to do. And then they struggled to get away from it, and all that continued. Now,
Exactly.
but we cannot get away from this conversation without talking about something very critical. Now, we've talked about what sex abuse is, what the sexual parts are, and of course, what to sex education and so many other things. There's the role of the church, the role of religion in child abuse. Some of these children are being abused by their pastors in church. There are cases, there are several cases like that. Now, when do we separate, as a parent or as a guardian, at what point do we separate our religious views and the abuse of the right of our child? Where in the Bible can we record where a man of God abused a child? How do someone abuse your child and you still allow that child? You still watch your big. I don't know. There are certain things that don't make sense in my head. How do you allow someone abuse your child and you're still in that church and you're doing pastor and mommy and all this is going on? What exactly are you doing to the mind of that child?
Seriously, it's really appalling, because these days you even see the parents that are supposed to even fight for these children, parents that are supposed to protect their children, opening themselves to the abuse. You know what I'm talking about? Parents opening themselves to the abuse. You see, where a parent will go to a man of God, a pastor, and the pastor, they will tell the parents that a pastor will bait you and all that. So it is no longer anything when a pastor says, there is a vision, I saw a vision for your daughter, your daughter Favor, please, I will need to do deliverance. Please follow your daughter for the deliverance. Follow your child. When the pastor says, the deliverance is only for the child. No way. Follow your daughter. And please, let us not be deceived. This sexual assault happens even with the pastors. Let us not say it's just pastors. We've had a case where a pastor pregnanted a girl of 13 years old. And the innocent child has given birth to a child. So we have cases, a lot of cases. They are on air via pastors, even religious bodies, sleep with children. Let us not say, this is a pastor. No, let us be conscious. We are not conscious. We have lost our morality. We've lost our consciousness with prophecies. When they see prophecy and you leave your child, monitor your children. Also note that defilement is life imprisonment. Rape is life imprisonment. Rape a child, you're going to prison for life. Rape anybody, you're going to prison for life. So we should also not, in short, we should not be focusing on the female children alone. In fact, this is a vast topic.
let me, before we go, we're almost out of time, but quickly, you know, when we talk about sexual abuse, like you said, our focus is always on the girl child. But there's something very critical about the life of the boy child. The average boy, who was a child and now a man, will always come to you to say, well, if you ask them to do their first sexual experience was with an adult female. Why are we not talking about these cases? Because some of these boys are mentally messed up because they no longer find sexual attraction with their peers. They're now looking at older women for that. Some of these people are aunts. So why is it that FIDA or other organizations don't consider the sexual abuse of a male child as important as that of a girl child?
We do, and we have cases of male abuse. Male child are being abused. We have one that judgment has been given. Should I tell the story? A little boy that went to hawk pure water, and the man said, "Oh, come, I'll finish all your water." He bought all the water and gave the innocent boy money. Go and drop it in my house. And the little boy went to drop it. He came there and laid the drink. Before you know, the boy slept up. He woke up in the morning and he saw milk coming out from his anus. So you see the innocent boy. The matter came to us and we also took it up. We followed it up till date. We are still following up cases of that nature. We are paying more attention on the girls. We should also look at the boys. In fact, we need to train who are the perpetrators, boys and girls. Let us pay more attention to the boys. Don't be focusing, like I said before, that every time we are talking about boy, giving the boy or the male child that greater opportunity rather than the girls. You see a male and a child, you say, go and fetch water, go and cook food. The female child, no, teach them, bring them together, teach them so that they will learn.
Because of our time, I can't wait to have you back. Do you have your contact, the FIDA contact here that you can give to us, please? Because of your time, we cannot do more than this. The big question again, before I come back to Esther for the time, the big question again is your girl child. When you say, go and greet uncle, have you ever wondered why she runs away? The boy child that you always live with, have you ever wondered why he's always fixated on that auntie? Parents, you need to do more. When it comes to the issue of child abuse, it becomes everybody's responsibility. If your neighbor is abusing his children, Esther is going to give us the FIDA's number. Call them out. They are free lawyer. They are not going to charge you ₦1 to provide their services. They are human rights lawyers. Call and then ensure that whatever needs to be done is done to also save that child from any form of child abuse. It could be maltreatment, whatever it is. But quickly, do you have the numbers now, Esther?
Okay, yes.
Please call out.
Our office is at State High Court, first floor, Block D. Then our number is 080-5021-3100.
All right, just quickly take the number again, please.
Okay, 080-5021-3100.
All right, thank you so much, Esther.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for being part of the conversation, and we can't wait to have you back on Primetime Advocacy. Thank you once again.
Thank you very much.
All right, this is how far we can go. We are almost out of time. The producer is on my neck. But thank you so much for joining us on Primetime Advocacy this evening. I am Vivian Douglas. So for further information, join us on our social media handles. Of course, this conversation continues on our social media handles. So you can follow us on Facebook and YouTube at Atlantic Television Network. Instagram is at Atlantic TV Network. And don't forget, whatever you do, wherever you are, peace and unity are the pathway to progress. Have a good night.